Today, let's dive into the mystery of one of the Bible's most enigmatic figures, Melchizedek. Though his presence was brief, his influence has been profound, being mentioned millennia before Christ's arrival and debated for generations. Who is Melchizedek truly? Is he a timeless being or simply a spiritual metaphor? Join us as we uncover the biblical insights about this fascinating mystery. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with our intriguing discoveries. The name Melchizedek means King of Righteousness, a figure in the Bible who transcends conventional religious and political roles. He stood apart from established norms, serving as a unique icon that offers deep perspectives on faith. When exploring Melchizedek's narrative, each of his appearances in Scripture emerges as a treasure, unveiling fresh understandings of his mysterious identity. Melchizedek's first recorded appearance dates back to antiquity, around 2,000 years before Christ, during his encounter with Abraham, following a string of battles and triumphs. Abraham, the founding father of the Jewish nation, was returning from a perilous expedition in which he and his devoted men pursued daring foes to Dan to reclaim spoils of war. In the oak grove of Mamre, a lone survivor from the battle arrived with urgent news. Surrounded by the tranquil beauty of nature, the messenger urgently informed Abraham that his nephew Lot had been captured along with his family and possessions, sparking deep concern and determination in Abraham's eyes. This alarming news stirred a fiery anger in Abraham, like a dormant flame suddenly flaring up, pushing him to take immediate action. Without hesitation, he assembled his forces, guiding his loyal men on a daring expedition that broke through the boundaries of safety and faced unknown fears. Leading 318 skilled warriors raised from his household, Abraham marched northward with a sense of urgency and hope, determined to rescue Lot before it was too late. As the night unfolded, Abraham and his warriors reached Ra, north of Damascus, and launched a daring surprise attack against the enemy on their territory. The clanging of swords shattered the night's calm, and the sounds of battle cries reverberated through the hills as Abraham and his soldiers fought valiantly with unwavering determination. The battle concluded with victory under the cover of darkness, as Abraham's courage and strategy silenced the enemy. The captives were freed, and the enemies defeated. Among the remnants of the battlefield, Abraham encountered a mysterious and extraordinary figure. Standing before this enigmatic man, Abraham felt an overwhelming aura of strength and peace radiating from him, as though he were surrounded by divine light. It was Melchizedek, the king of Salem, who suddenly appeared from the darkness of night, his eyes glowing with a light beyond the natural world. Melchizedek emerges in the Bible without warning, bearing no genealogy or known origins, only described as the king of Salem and the priest of the Most High God. The scriptures provide no clues about his ancestry or how he attained his position, leaving his appearance a great mystery and his identity a puzzling question. The narrative focuses on Melchizedek's meeting with Abraham after the battle in which Abraham saved his nephew Lot. Melchizedek approached Abraham with calm determination, and his commanding presence filled the serene aftermath of the battle. In his hands he carried bread and wine, symbols of nourishment and covenant, conveying profound meaning that spoke louder than words, touching the depths of the soul. Abraham, struck by awe at this exceptional meeting, bowed before Melchizedek, paying homage and acknowledging the majesty of this priestly king. With devotion and respect, Abraham accepted the bread and wine from Melchizedek, sacred tokens of blessing and divine promise. Melchizedek then lifted his hands skyward, pronouncing a blessing over Abraham with words of immense power and spiritual depth that reached across time and space. He affirmed the blessings given to Abraham by the Most High, recognizing him as God's chosen, a man entrusted with a mission that defies human comprehension. Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, And praise be to God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. Genesis 14:19-20. In the presence of such sacred blessings and covenant, Abraham felt a profound sense of gratitude and worship. As a sign of respect and reverence, Abraham offered Melchizedek a tithe, or 1/10, of all the spoils he had gained in the battle, acknowledging Melchizedek's spiritual authority and the blessings he bestowed. This act was more than just material generosity. It was an expression of reverence for the divine power and blessings Melchizedek embodied. It represented Abraham's deep faith and his trust in the divine plan unfolding before him. Melchizedek's theological significance surpasses the established traditions of the Bible. He is portrayed as a remarkable figure, uniquely combining the roles of king and priest, a stark contrast to the separation of religion and politics in other cultures of his time. In Hebrew tradition, God later forbade Israelite kings from serving as priests and vice versa. Yet, Melchizedek was both a priest of the Most High God and independent of the Israelite people, or the covenant established with Abraham. This distinction emphasizes Melchizedek's extraordinary nature and his theological role. His presence before Abraham's covenant signifies that he operated outside the Hebrew traditions, acting as God's representative for all of humanity. This universality makes him a figure of timeless relevance, a priest unbound by racial or cultural confines. Melchizedek blessed Abraham, recognizing him as a divine instrument and granting him a significant blessing after his triumph. The meeting between Melchizedek and Abraham highlights the priestly role as an intermediary between God and humanity, even before the formal institution of the Levitical priesthood. The second biblical mention of Melchizedek, occurring about 1,000 years later, further deepens the mystery surrounding him, cementing his identity as a divine, eternal symbol beyond human understanding. Psalm 110, one of the most cited and analyzed psalms in the Old Testament, offers a poetic and vivid vision of Christ's dual role as king and priest. David depicts a scene where the Lord invites another figure, also referred to as Lord, to sit at his right hand, symbolizing ultimate authority and power. This highlights the glory and authority of the Messiah, surpassing all earthly existence. While the psalm doesn't explicitly reference Melchizedek, many theologians interpret the passage as an allusion to his priestly ministry. Melchizedek, as both a king and a priest, stands as a precursor to the Messiah, symbolizing an eternal office and authority beyond temporal limitations. Just as Melchizedek blessed Abraham and received tithes from him, Christ is exalted at the right hand of God as the ultimate high priest and eternal king, interceding for believers and reigning over all. The connection between Melchizedek and the depiction of Christ, seated at God's right hand in Psalm 110, underlines the theological importance of Melchizedek as a type of Christ, foreshadowing Jesus' redemptive mission and glorification. Melchizedek's dual roles as king and priest prefigure Christ, who combines both eternal kingship and priesthood in fulfilling humanity's salvation. The comparison between Melchizedek and Jesus as eternal high priests is a central and captivating theme in biblical theology, with scholars viewing Melchizedek as a foreshadowing of Christ. This perspective emphasizes Melchizedek's uniqueness, a mysterious Old Testament figure, and illuminates his prophetic symbolism, enhancing understanding of Christ's saving work. Some scholars have speculated that Melchizedek might be associated with figures like Noah, Seth, or even angels, due to the lack of genealogical details about him. Melchizedek's enigmatic appearance, with no recorded beginning or end, represents eternity and uniqueness, mirroring Christ, who is eternal and everlasting. The third mention of Melchizedek appears in the late 1st century AD, where the author of Hebrews explores Melchizedek's theological relevance to explain Christ's eternal priesthood. Melchizedek is portrayed in this letter as a one-of-a-kind figure, lacking genealogy, beginning or end, symbolizing eternity and serving as a prophetic representation of Jesus Christ. Chapters 5 through 7 of Hebrews expound on the theological importance of Melchizedek as a model preparing the way for Christ's appearance and redemptive mission. The book of Hebrews contrasts the Levitical priesthood, founded on the lineage of Levi, with Melchizedek's priesthood, which predates the Levitical system. The Levitical priesthood, tied to the lineage of Aaron, Moses' brother, played a central role in Jewish worship, focusing on rituals and sacrifices to mediate between God and the Israelites. Jewish tradition holds that this system was instituted by God during the Exodus, as recorded in the books of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, with its primary functions centered at the tabernacle and later the temple in Jerusalem. The comparison in Hebrews underscores the superiority and eternal nature of Christ's priesthood, described as in the order of Melchizedek. The author asserts that Melchizedek's priesthood surpasses the Levitical priesthood in multiple dimensions. One key example is Melchizedek's blessing of Abraham, the forefather of the Jewish nation, which signifies his spiritual authority and unique role above Levi, the patriarch of the priestly line. Furthermore, Abraham's act of tithing to Melchizedek illustrates the superiority of Melchizedek's priesthood over that of Israel's lineage. Based on this, the author argues that Jesus, as a priest in the order of Melchizedek, transcends the limitations of the Levitical priesthood. Hebrews also emphasizes the perpetual and eternal nature of Melchizedek's priesthood, which stands in stark contrast to the transient nature of the Levitical priesthood, bound by death and lineage. The author affirms that Jesus, as a priest after the order of Melchizedek, is superior to the Levitical priests because he is eternal and indestructible, unaffected by death. Consequently, he does not require succession or inheritance of his priestly role, unlike the Levitical system. The theological study emphasizes Melchizedek's priesthood as a precursor to Jesus' eternal priesthood. Linking Jesus with Melchizedek's priesthood showcases the surpassing greatness and perfection of Christ's ministry, compared to the Levitical system, affirming his eternal and all-encompassing work of redemption. Melchizedek's priesthood in Hebrews provides critical insights into Jesus' saving and intercessory work, offering eternal salvation and unhindered access to God for all believers. Melchizedek's theological role defies traditional norms of biblical practice. He is portrayed as a remarkable figure who uniquely embodies both kingly and priestly roles, unlike the strict separation seen in his era's political and religious customs. The story of Melchizedek's priesthood and the new covenant established by Jesus opens profound theological perspectives on God's relationship with humanity, surpassing the temporary and ceremonial limitations of the Levitical system. The Levitical priesthood, bound by Mosaic law, represented a restricted and temporary system, while Melchizedek's priesthood transcends these constraints, signifying its eternal and universal applicability. Jesus, as a priest in the order of Melchizedek, inaugurates a new covenant that transcends lineage and temporary rituals, offering an eternal relationship with God available to all people across every race, culture, and era. This underscores the understanding that God's redemptive plan is a universal and everlasting invitation, extending beyond the limitations of time, culture, and human traditions. The new covenant is not just liberation from rituals, but a call to an intimate and dynamic relationship with God, rooted in the eternal sacrifice of Jesus, the supreme high priest and eternal king. This relationship, free from temporal and spatial limitations, is accessible to all, affirming God's boundless love and inclusivity. Melchizedek's priesthood serves as both a theological framework and an invitation for every believer to embrace God's plan. In the same way, Jesus, the eternal priest in the order of Melchizedek, not only blesses us, but also invites us to offer our lives as living sacrifices, demonstrating complete surrender and infinite gratitude for his redemptive work. This invitation extends beyond material offerings, like the tithe Abraham gave to Melchizedek, and calls us to dedicate ourselves, our hearts, intellect, time, and talents to serving God and the community. To fulfill this calling, we must live not only according to religious teachings, but also through a vibrant and meaningful relationship with God, recognizing His sovereignty in every part of our lives. Jesus' priesthood offers more than redemption. It is a call to a renewed and purposeful life, where we emulate Him, bless and serve others, and commit every aspect of our lives to God, just as He did for us. The story of Melchizedek serves as a profound source of inspiration, encouraging reflection on the priestly role, the mediation between God and humanity, and the act of surrendering and dedicating our lives to God. If this video has touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so we can continue sharing meaningful messages from the Bible with you. Leave a comment to share your thoughts. We're eager to hear your stories, experiences, and aspirations in the light of God. Thanks be to God for His constant presence on this journey, providing encouragement and peace each day.